What's up? It's your boy Kevin to turn on this motherfucking YouTube shit. Wow, what the fuck?
What's up? It's your boy. Catch on to shit. Hey man, say man, we are lit. Turn. Today, motherfucker, today, your hood outside. Big crip in it. Gang your hood outside shit, man. Free Palestine, free Congo, Russia, do your thing, and Texas, stand the fuck up. Each day is a new day to be a better version of yourself. Never let somebody bring you down, always fight back. Never let somebody tell you who you are, but also don't put yourself in a position you don't belong. Let's stay humble. Let's get on the revolution, on the movement. Keep Yahweh first. Coming to you, the black Hebrew Israelite, as a real Jew. We out here. Alright. Boom. Today, motherfucker, today, your hood outside. Big crip in it. Gang your hood outside shit, man. Alright, man. We in this bitch, man. We already know, gang, the motion that they got on us. The fake Jews, America, KKK, all of them. They plan this to take down black people. Now, we're not saying these motherfuckers are innocent, but we ain't saying these niggas are guilty. We don't know. So at the end of the day, we just going about it on common motherfucking sense and a little intellectual digging into Lil Durk. Pause. Script, nigga. We got Lil Durk talking about, man, they done dropped like 2 cases. These feds, these pigs don't know what the fuck they doing. A lot of times when they try to take black niggas down, they don't have the proof. They just go off of hearsay, off of lists and that, making up lies and confusion, deceits and lies. It's all be fake. Half the time they be setting niggas up. Now, I always go back to Lil Durk, King Von and Lil Tab. King Von and Tab. Lil Tab, Ponderono cousin. Both gone RP, you know what I'm saying? But it's getting deeper, you know what I'm saying? It's more stuff behind the scenes that they trying to bring up too. So this is where we get into. They trying to say witness tampering. And also, we go into King Von's last final messages before he was left and where Lil Durk and how it even went down and what happened. This shit is wild. Let's get into it. Shout out to KBG Goes Live. Lil Durk accused of putting a bounty on Witness family. Feds say,
All right, so Lil Durk has been fighting for his freedom behind bars while waiting on his murder for hire case to start.
Nigga, getting hit after hit with all types of bullshit, nigga.
Multiple times, 3 or 4 times, he has asked for this case to be dismissed. Multiple times, that hasn't happened for him, even though the government had to come back and file a second superseding indictment against him because some of the information they used in their first indictment against Lil Durk turned out to not be factual. They ended up having to drop 2 key allegations from that when they did their second superseding indictment, and because of that, we have seen Lil Durk's fight for freedom continue. He recently requested that the judge in this case dismiss the case altogether due to these errors on the prosecution's part. We have been waiting to hear an update about that for a while now, but the government actually just responded to Lil Durk, and by the government, I don't mean the judge, I mean the prosecution just responded to Lil Durk's request for dismissal on this case, and they are pretty much still arguing that Lil Durk is a menace to society.
Nigga, they might get Durk out this bitch, nigga.
If he is, there's no combination of factors that will guarantee the safety of the community or negate the fact that they think Lil Durk is trying to flee from these charges. Right, so we got the response right here, and it says, introduction. Defendant Lil Durk is charged with murder for hire, stalking resulting in death, and other crimes arising from a premeditated execution-style murder that occurred on a busy street corner in Los Angeles. Among other things, the indictment charges that the defendant directed and financed 6 hitmen to travel across the country to hunt and kill his rival.
Because I think they said he had one with him.
Once the co-conspirators arrived in Los Angeles, the hitmen used 2 vehicles to stalk Quando Rondo for hours before ambushing his vehicle at a gas station in broad daylight, killing his cousin, Sophia Robinson, also known as Lil Pap. On April 18, 2025, Lil Durk filed a motion seeking to dismiss the first superseding indictment, taking issue with an introductory allegation that alleged defendant commercialized Lil Pap's murder through certain violent rap lyrics and greenlighting a murder. As set forth below, defendants claim that his music prompted his indictment here is categorically false, as evidenced by the return of the second superseding indictment, which removed the disputed introductory allegation and contained no reference to defendant's violent lyrics. Right? So what they're saying is, in his motion to dismiss, he was saying that the whole indictment was based on lyrics. They're saying that's why we hit him with a second superseding indictment.
So it's all based on lyrics
in it, which was approved by a grand jury, basically trying to sidestep their fuck up. It says the grand jury's return of the second superseding indictment makes it clear defendant is not on trial for his lyrics or his music. He is on trial because he directed, orchestrated, and financed the brazen murder plot at issue in this case. Defendant's motion should be denied because it is moot following the second superseding indictment. But even if the mootness does not apply, parentheses, it does, the motion fails to cite any legitimate basis to dismiss the indictment or unseal grand jury transcripts, particularly in this murder case where witnesses and their family members have already been threatened. So they're saying Lil Durk been out here threatening witnesses and witnesses' families. It says C1. One says, in connection with defendant's detention hearing, the government submitted evidence related to certain threats to witnesses in this case.
Always some shit going on like this,
on the same date as defendant's motion to dismiss, June 2nd. The government will submit its opposition to defendant's appeal by May 27, 2025, which will incorporate example 2 from docket 105. Interesting. It says, indeed, the compelling need to continue protecting witnesses alone justifies denying defendant's meritless request to unseal the sensitive proceedings before the grand jury.
He got all types of
defendant's
fans,
control and leadership of OTF. Defendant is the leader of a Chicago-based organization called Only the Family, or OTF. The second superseding indictment alleges that in addition to producing hip-hop music, OTF is comprised of individuals who engage in violence, including murder and assault, at the defendant's direction. In furtherance of his control of OTF and to exact revenge on his rivals, Lil Durk is alleged to have placed bounties on individuals that he and other OTF members wanted to kill, including Taekwondo. In addition to directing violence against his rivals, defendant and OTF members are also alleged to have engaged in witness intimidation. And it says, see docket 105 example 2, but this is under seal, so we don't know who Lil Durk's been threatening. But the government says he's been out here threatening witnesses. It says, for example, evidence collected in this case shows defendant allegedly placed a bounty to solicit the murder of a family member of a witness, and then another OTF member called the family member of a witness in an alleged effort to intimidate the witness. B, defendant's deadly rivalry with Quando Rondo, as alleged in the second superseding indictment in November of 2020. Davon Bennett, aka King Von, a high-ranking OTF member and close friend of Lil Durk, was murdered following a physical altercation with Quando Rondo at a nightclub in Atlanta, Georgia. After the murder, defendant made clear in coded language that he would pay a bounty to anyone who took part in killing Quando Rondo.
Why? Because he rapped it don't mean nothing.
On August 18, 2022, Lil Durk and his co-conspirators learned that Quando Rondo was in Los Angeles. In response, Lil Durk allegedly orchestrated and financed his co-conspirators' travel to Los Angeles to kill Quando Rondo. Indeed, around the time that a Chicago-based co-conspirator booked flights for 5 of the hitmen to travel from Chicago to California for the murder, Lil Durk attempted to conceal his involvement by telling the co-conspirator, don't book no flights under no names involved with me. As those 5 co-conspirators traveled to Los Angeles, Lil Durk and another co-conspirator traveled on a private jet to the Los Angeles area. After arriving in Los Angeles, Lil Durk's co-conspirators used 2 cars to track stalk and kill Quando Rondo as Quando Rondo drove around Los Angeles with his entourage, including Lil Pap. After hours of stalking Quando Rondo and his companions, 3 of Lil Durk's co-conspirators cornered Quando Rondo at a crowded gas station on the afternoon of August 19th. There, the co-conspirators ambushed Quando Rondo's vehicle and fired multiple rounds towards Quando's car, striking and killing Lil Pap. Later that afternoon, 5 of Lil Durk's co-conspirators flew back to Chicago. See, the indictment and defendant's attempt to flee the country. It says, on October 17, 2024, the grand jury returned an indictment charging 5 of Lil Durk's co-conspirators with crimes arising from the murder, including murder for hire and conspiracy to commit murder for hire resulting in death.
So who they trying to charge?
In the original indictment, he was referenced throughout the indictment as co-conspirator 1. Specifically, the original indictment alleged that defendant was a member or associate of OTF, that that defendant placed a bounty on Quando Rondo following King Von's murder, and that defendant would place bounties on individuals that he and other OTF members wanted to kill. In the early hours of October 24, 2024, so 7 days later, federal and local law enforcement executed multiple search warrants at locations associated with members of OTF.
Every time get niggas caught up,
and arrested the 5 charged co-conspirators. Soon after law enforcement executed the warrants, the FBI learned that Lil Durk had been booked on 3 international flights, including at least one to a non-extradition country. The defendant skipped the first 2 flights and was arrested when he showed up to board a private jet scheduled to leave the United States a short time later. The first superseding indictment on November 7, 2024, the grand jury returned the FSI, or the first superseding indictment against Lil Durk and his co-conspirators. The first superseding indictment identified defendant as co-conspirator 1 and alleged that he formed and was the leader of OTF, a group of individuals who engaged in violence, including murder and assault, at the direction of Lil Durk and to maintain their status within OTF. In addition to these allegations set forth in the original indictment, the first superseding indictment also specified that the defendant orchestrated the murder plot. Among other things, the grand jury alleged that at Lil Durk's discretion, his co-conspirators traveled from Chicago to Los Angeles to murder Quando Rondo. Also, at Lil Durk's direction, his co-conspirators used 2 cars to trash talk in an attempt to kill Quando Rondo. And at Lil Durk's direction, another defendant named Grant obtained the cars, ski masks, and firearms that the killers used to stalk and attempt to kill Quando. The first superseding indictment included an introductory allegation that the defendant commercialized his violence through rap lyrics about greenlighting a murder. That allegation stated the following, quote, following the attempted murder of Quando Rondo and the murder of Lil Pab, defendant Lil Durk sought to commercialize Lil Pab's death by rapping about his revenge on Quando with music that explicitly references audio from the news clip taken shortly after Lil Pab's murder, where Quando screamed, "No, no," after seeing Lil Pab's dead body. And then they got the lyrics here. Told me they got the Addy, go, go. Got location, go, go. Green light, go, 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 go. Look at the news and see your son, you screaming, no, no. The government obtained the second superseding indictment after Lil Durk attempted to promote a false narrative that he was indicted and detained because of his music. On April 18, 2025, Lil Durk filed his motion to dismiss the first superseding indictment, claiming that the rap lyrics at issue were authored before Lil Pab's murder, and thus he alleges he could not have been rapping about greenlighting this murder. Shortly after filing the motion, Lil Durk and others attempted to promote a false narrative that Lil Durk had been indicted because of his music, not because he allegedly spearheaded the violent murder plot at issue here. As a result, the government removed the introductory allegation and obtained the second superseding indictment on May 1st, 2025. However, just like every iteration of the indictment before it, the second superseding indictment alleges that defendant caused, directed, and orchestrated the execution-style murder of Lil Pab on a busy street corner in Los Angeles. 3. Defendant's motion to dismiss is moot or meritless. Defendant's motion to dismiss the first superseding indictment should be denied because 1, it was mooted by the grand jury's return of the second superseding indictment, and 2, in any event, the motion is meritless. The Ninth Circuit has repeatedly held that dismissal of an indictment is a drastic and harsh measure that must meet an extremely high standard and is therefore disfavored. To warrant such dismissal,
so what they gonna try to do with this shit?
Must
they
be
try to say it's
patently
witness
egregious,
tampering
flagrant,
and shit like
and
that, bro.
grossly shocking and or so outrageous as to violate the universal sense of justice. Are they saying that it's not really literally used lyrics that were about Lil Pab or Quando Rondo saying that it was? I would call that grossly shocking because they use that information to get the indictment. I'm not saying they should let Lil Durk go because there was a lot of other allegations, but I mean, at some point, the government's got to admit we fucked up. We used information that wasn't true to secure that first superseding indictment. It ain't hard. They already got the second superseding indictment. So just admit that you messed up and move on.
They
Probably
got
still
shit they don't
gonna
even
be
have
able
proof
to
for.
charge and put Lil Durk on trial based on the other information. This is
They don't have
seeking dismissal. A
proof.
defendant must also show
niggas,
that the misconduct
these
was
police
prejudicial
are
or otherwise
clowns and
colluded
suits,
the defendant's
nigga.
prosecution. For the reasons
Bozos.
set forth below,
Niggas like
defendant's
they
motion
think they
falls
knowing shit.
far
They just
short
be
of
guessing.
establishing
And
any
think they know
grand jury
shit. They don't know
misconduct, much
nothing.
less purported misconduct to justify the extreme remedy that Lil Durk seeks. 1. The second superseding
They trying to
indictment
get this
moved
witness
defendant's
tampering
motion.
BS and
Here,
shit.
Lil Durk's sole claim is that the first superseding indictment should be dismissed because the government allegedly presented gave false testimony to the grand jury about the defendant's violent lyrics. As described below, this claim is meritless. This is nonetheless the grand jury's return of the second superseding indictment, which removed all references to defendant's lyrics, moots defendant's claim for dismissal. And I agree, it does. They were able to secure a second indictment with none of those lyrics. But it doesn't change the fact that they did use false lyrics to get the first one. It says, a claim is moot when the issues presented are no longer live or the parties lack a legally cognizable interest in the outcome. Because the second superseding indictment removed the references to Lil Durk's lyrics, Lil Durk's motion to dismiss the first superseding indictment is no longer a
man, these motherfuckers just like some motherfucking badgers, bitch. Eating at trees and shit. Nigga, they gonna chop down every fucking thing. But that kind of some shit that's not gonna work. They don't know what the fuck to do no more.
It says, like the original indictment and the first superseding indictment, the second superseding indictment makes clear that the grand jury indicted the defendant for his conduct, not for his status as a rapper or because of the violent lyrics at issue concerning greenlighting rivals. As with all prior iterations of the indictment, the second superseding indictment contains significant material allegations that Lil Durk directed his co-conspirators to travel across the country to stalk and kill one of his rivals. Specifically, it alleges
that the defendant led OTF. He had interviews. He got shit that this nigga can't go to motherfucking locations
was murdered,
and do what the fuck they want to do. Like it's a popular
to his
location.
co-conspirators that he would pay a bounty for killing Taekwon Bowman, who was suspected to be involved in King Von's murder. And when defendant and his co-conspirators learned that Quando was in Los Angeles, defendant set into motion a plan to execute Quando, including by causing and financing his co-defendants to travel to Los Angeles to track, stalk, and kill, including one co-conspirator who traveled with Lil Durk on a private jet to the Los Angeles area. These allegations make clear that Lil Durk used his power, his wealth, and his control over OTF to exact deadly revenge on his rival. Accordingly, the grand jury's return of the second superseding indictment containing all of these material allegations and none of the defendant's lyrics moots his motion to dismiss the first superseding indictment.
See, look at that.
Lil Durk failed to show any misconduct or prejudice. It says, but even if the motion was not moot, defendant's accusation of government misconduct and resulting prejudice is baseless. First, the first superseding indictment's allegation that the defendant commercialized Savaya Robinson's death was neither false nor
they
reckless.
dropped 2 cases already, nigga.
To promote
that's all I said. All you need is some money and a good ass lawyer and a team, nigga. Good, nigga. Like half time these motherfuckers doesn't have money on
have a striking similarity to the modus operandi used to kill Lil Pap, and the government is just doubling down. They're like, even though those lyrics weren't good, there are other instances of him rapping about this stuff. They're just doubling down on this narrative,
dummies, nigga.
Like, we're not using his lyrics to indict him, but hey, look at these lyrics that we're using to indict him. It's ridiculous. It's even got 6 off to the side right here, and 6 says, for example, defendant was featured on another artist's song in which he raps, I don't want nobody who you catch, I want the one I paid for, trolling ass, we shot your homie. And that's from the Gucci Mane and Lil Durk song.
What that mean,
the government cracks me up, bro. We didn't use his lyrics to indict him, but look at these lyrics right here. It's crazy. It says whether or not defendant's lyrics about green lighting a rival were written before or after Lil Pap's death, the release of the song after the murder gave defendant's fans fodder to associate him with the murder, a claim that defendant himself seemed to admit during an interview on a popular podcast. Wow, bro. So they're like, even though he recorded these lyrics before Lil Pap's death, the fact that he released them after Lil Pap died says that he was commercializing it. Like, bro, the government need to let this point right here go. I think that they have enough without the lyrics. I'm just saying, they need to let this one right here go, because this is Lil Durk's biggest point of contention. It's the weakest argument in this entire case. I don't know why they keep pushing it, but anyways, about this podcast, C7 and 7 says in May 2023, defendant appeared on a well-known podcast where he tactically admitted his involvement in the killing of Lil Pap, specifically after being asked about his rivalry with Taekwon Bowman, and in response to the interviewer's question about whether defendant was triggered by the slide for Vine comments, a reference to sliding or exacting revenge for OTF member Davon Bennett's death, defendant coyly responded, for some reason, I just don't see them comments no more. For some odd reason, it might be the water, but we here though. See Lil Durk realest interview ever, last interview on Off the Record with Academics. Also, this is from a DJ Academics interview that he did back in 2023. Wow, congrats, you finally made it into an indictment. Anyways, it says, as to prejudice, Lil Durk claimed that the lyrics were one of only 2 pieces of evidence that the first superseding indictment cited against him, completely disregarding words, and belittles the grand jury's findings in all 3 indictments that Lil Durk was the organizer and leader of this calculated murder plot. The first superseding indictment's single reference to defendant's lyrics in an introductory allegation caused no prejudice, considering the numerous material allegations that Lil Durk directed this revenge killing, and 2, the grand jury's confirmation when it returned the second superseding indictment that Lil Durk was charged for his murderous conduct, not his lyrics. The court should deny the motion to dismiss. B, defendant's request for grand jury transcripts is also moot and meritless. Grand jury secrecy exists for a reason. Indeed, the proper functioning of our grand jury system depends on it. This is especially true in cases like this one, where witnesses have been threatened and protecting their safety is paramount. The charged conduct at issue, which is defendant allegedly dispatching 6 hitmen to kill Quando Rondo in another part of the country, also showcases the palpable danger to witnesses and those the co-conspirators perceive as impedance to their freedom. As the Supreme Court has repeatedly held, if pre-indictment proceedings were made public, many prospective witnesses would be hesitant to come forward voluntarily, knowing that those against whom they testify would be aware of that testimony. Moreover, witnesses who appear before the grand jury would be less likely to testify fully and frankly, as they would be open to retribution as well as to inducements. Rule 6E3 provides narrow exceptions to this bedrock rule of secrecy, permitting disclosure of grand jury matters only in limited circumstances. When a defendant requests disclosure of grand jury matters, the court may authorize disclosure upon showing that a ground may exist to dismiss the indictment because of the matter that occurred before the grand jury. Thus, defendant's rights of access to grand jury materials turns on whether he meets the standard to dismiss an indictment based on conduct occurring before the grand jury. Moreover, the Supreme Court has consistently construed Rule 6E to require a strong showing of particularized need for grand jury materials before any disclosure will be permitted. The standards the district court should follow when lifting the secrecy of grand jury proceedings are: 1, that the desired material will avoid a possible injustice, and 2, that the need for disclosure is greater than the need for continued secrecy, and 3, that only the relevant parts of the transcripts should be disclosed.
So they trying to get out the transcripts of what happened. I told y'all in transcripts.
Need for grand jury materials.
They trying to see they can put that bitch in.
By the second superseding
they really ain't got
no
nothing.
grounds exist to dismiss an indictment. And even if the motion was not moot, Lil Durk's claims would not have compelled the dismissal of the first superseding indictment, given the lack of misconduct and the absence of any prejudice. Accordingly, Lil Durk fails to meet his heavy burden to invade the grand jury proceedings. Finally, even if the defendant could show a particularized need for grand jury materials, parentheses he has not, he fails to establish that any need outweighs the need for continued secrecy. Preserving the grand jury secrecy and independence is paramount in this case. Defendant has already shown he is willing to use his power to continue pursuing violence, including allegedly offering a bounty to kill a family member of a witness. And evidence collected has also shown that one of defendant's OTF members has already attempted to intimidate a witness. Quite simply, the Supreme Court's warning that the release of grand jury materials may result in witness retribution and inducements is near certain in a calculated murder case like this. The court should accordingly deny Lil Durk's request for a grand jury transcript. Conclusion: for the foregoing reason, the government respectfully requests that this court deny the motion to dismiss the defendant's request for the release of the grand jury transcripts. All right, and so that's what we got for this document. There's a lot said in there, most notably that Lil Durk has tried to put a quote-unquote bounty on a family member of a witness in this case. That is massive news and something that we have not heard yet.
They dropped like 2 cases, nigga. They trying to get a nigga with witness stuff. You see how the 12 work, nigga?
Gonna try to respond to this. He wants to get out. We'll have to wait and see what he says.
They always come up with some bullshit.
That's the document. Y'all gotta let me know what y'all think about this in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the content,
nigga, I got a warrant put on me out of nowhere. They just be making up shit.
As always, it's been fun rocking with y'all, man. I'm out.
Shout out to Rap Daily. We got Lil Durk reveals what King Von's confessed before he dies, man.
Where were you when you got the call? We was in Houston. We was shooting a video.
They was in
Right after revealing where he was when King Von was shot and killed, Lil Durk made a shocking revelation about the unspeakable, crazy things.
He revealed where he was. He was in Houston.
And Durk isn't the only one speaking up. Von's cousin, Bilo, made a shocking claim.
Made it through 2. He hopped out the bed after the second surgery.
and supposedly started fighting the nurse.
Sounds like a lot went down in his final hours, so let's break it all down. The night King Von died. In the wee hours of November 6th, 2020.
That shit was wild, because Mo 3 died, King Von died. So many more people died. That's like, bro, this nigga from Texas died. Man, there's so many people died, nigga.
Lil Durk made an unexpected revelation about how Von went crazy before he died. So did Von really went crazy before he died? Well, the street was cold after Balo, Von's cousin, ran his mouth about the situation at the hospital right before King Von's death. He claimed that Von would have survived if he had not gone crazy at the hospital.
He hopped off the bed after the second surgery and supposedly started fighting the nurse and asked the nurse where's his gun at, something like that. And then he died because he went into shock. So I'm guessing if he would just laid there, he probably would have survived.
This narrative.
Dang, he jumped out the bed, started fighting the nurse and said where his gun at and died?
Died at the spot while his close affiliate insists that he drew his last breath at the hospital. Before we go deep into that, let me bring you up to speed on the tragic events of the day. The night King Von died initially started as a normal evening. King Von had just dropped his debut project, Welcome to O'Block, and was in Atlanta living his best life as his buzz kept growing. Von was blowing up with his storytelling flow and authentic street narratives, putting him on everyone's radar. Ain't nobody could have predicted that by sunrise.
He was just laying in that bitch.
Around 3:20 a.m., outside the hookah spot, things got heated between two squads. Von's crew and some dudes rolling with Quando Rondo. What started as some back and forth jaw-jacking quickly escalated to hands being thrown. Security footage later showed King Von getting active, throwing them things at Quando's homies first. In a hot minute, what was just a fade turned into a full-blown shootout. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation confirmed that during the chaos, multiple straps were busted, including by two cops, one on duty and one off.
The cops the ones who shot and killed most of the people, though. That's the crazy thing. People don't even know.
Multiple slugs. His head scattered, and the scene turned.
The cops killed most of the people.
Was leaking bad. Wasn't transported by ambulance, but got rushed to the nearest hospital in somebody's whip. This unconventional way of getting medical attention might have affected how quickly Bro received proper care. When this was popping off, Lil Durk, born Durk Derek Banks, wasn't even in the
crazy,
man. He was posted up in H-Town, Texas. Durk later confirmed his location that night, stating, "No, we was in Houston. We were shooting a video, I think." His physical separation meant Smirk couldn't be there for his mans during those crucial final hours, something that clearly haunts him to this day.
You know, one of my favorite rappers ever was King Von. You had a great relationship with him, obviously. Where were you when you got the call?
We was in Houston. We were shooting a video, I think.
How Durk found out about the situation is wild, too.
That shit
wild. Going live on Instagram when the comments started flooding in about Von getting shot. Viewers caught Durk's unfiltered reaction, pure shock and disbelief as he processed the death.
I watched an interview about that nigga. He just died the next few days. I'm like, damn, nigga, this like life is really hitting hard.
Saying about his right-hand man. While Von was fighting for his life in the hospital, things were reportedly hectic. Though specific details about Von's behavior in the hospital are limited in public records, Durk has hinted that Von was still on demon time even as he was slipping away. The claim that Von went crazy at the hospital could mean he was refusing to give up, trying to fight despite catching them shells, or even wilding out from the trauma. Despite the doctors trying to save him, Von succumbed to his injuries at the hospital. The autopsy would later reveal that multiple bullets had hit vital organs, injuries too severe for any medical intervention to overcome. At just 26, a promising voice from the trenches was silenced before he could fully realize his potential. News of Von's death spread like wildfire on social media, with fans and fellow artists posting their condolences. Lil Durk's first public response was a heartbreaking post simply saying, "My twin gone, I love you, bro," with several broken heart emojis.
Yeah, you know, he lost social media for
months. An unprecedented digital detox that showed just how
just couldn't let that shit go, man.
How Von's death hit Durk. You gotta understand their bond wasn't just industry connection. They were blood brothers without the DNA. Both came up in O-Block, one of the most notorious hoods in Chicago's South Side, where they faced the same struggles and developed the same survival mentality. Durk's support for Von wasn't just about music. He held Von down financially during his bids and helped him transition to rap when he touched down. As Von himself put it, "I gotta steady ask this for money. I gotta keep asking Durk for money when I f up or something." This financial backing was essential for Von's survival and eventual glow-up, creating a loyalty that ran deeper than business. Their musical partnership was just as tight. Durk brought Von into his Only the Family OTF label, giving him a platform to showcase his unique storytelling ability. Under Durk's guidance, Von refined his narrative style, creating those vivid street tales that had listeners questioning whether they were real or fiction. This mentorship transformed Von from just another dude with a rap dream to a legit voice from the streets. The respect between them was mutual and genuine. In interviews, Durk consistently gasped Von's storytelling abilities, calling
Durk really put that nigga King Von on, nigga. Like, Durk put a lot, some other people on, but it's like he really put King Von on, man.
That had listeners fully immersed in his world. Von always kept it a buck about
and King Von put the rest of the gang on.
No Jumper interview, Von broke down how Durk would physically put him in positions to be seen, bringing him to interviews and creating opportunities to advance his career.
Like,
come on business down here, Von explained, showing how Durk was actively plugging him into situations that would boost his visibility.
You know, Durk put FBG,
in many ways, King Von represented Durk's hope for the future. A talented artist whose come up showed there was a path out of the trenches. Von's death didn't just end his promising career, it was a devastating blow to Durk's vision for OTF and his broader mission of putting on for Chicago. The events of November 6, 2020 marked not just the end of King Von's life, but a major turning point in Durk's career and personal journey. Losing his closest homie, someone he called his twin,
let's start
shape his subsequent
forgot that nigga
life choices. The grief, anger, and sense of obligation stemming from this tragedy would eventually lead to a series of events that continue to unfold today. The aftermath and legacy. As the streets were still processing Von's death,
J-Man, J-Man, he'll put J-Man on, goofy ass.
After the shooting, Timothy Lil Tim Leaks, a 22-year-old associate of Quando Rondo, got booked on
Lil Tim, man, almost got hit too.
Cops
took it
grabbed
out
Leaks while he was getting treated for a gunshot wound at Grady Hospital, suggesting he was also hit during the Wild exchange. The arrest seemed to lay out a clear timeline. King Von had been gunned down by someone in Quando Rondo's camp during the altercation outside the hookah lounge. This version of events got more weight when security footage hit the internet, showing Von throwing hands first, rushing at people connected to Rondo. Footage that circulated had everyone playing detective, though it created much confusion. On March 27, 2021, about 4 months after he locked up, Lil Team posted a $100,000 bond and walked out. This development had Von's family and associates heated. The idea that the alleged shooter was back on the streets while Von was gone forever had a lot of people questioning the system. The case took an unexpected twist on August 20th, 2023, when the felony murder charges against Leaks got dropped before the case even made it to formal indictment. Confirmed the dismissal, saying prosecutors concluded the shooting was justified under Georgia's.
But they been trying to get King Von out the paint. You know, these motherfuckers wasn't gonna type in no King Von. I'm glad I let them free. These motherfuckers wasn't gonna let these motherfuckers free, bitch.
Fans and loved ones, it felt like the system had failed them. For Quando Rondo's supporters, it validated their claim that Leaks was just
they wasn't gonna keep, you know, they wasn't gonna try to
or lack thereof, just added more fuel to an already explosive situation with no legal justice.
They probably didn't like King
started
Von,
a grassroots campaign urging Lil Durk to slide for Von. This phrase, straight out of street vocabulary, was basically fans pressing Durk to get revenge for his homie's death. The pressure on Durk to respond with violence was everywhere, especially on social platforms where fans openly discussed their expectations. One Reddit user, whose comment got 7 upvotes, directly called out Durk's perceived inaction. Durk definitely should have slid for Von. They were like brothers, and I know for a fact if someone
like poking a bear, bitch.
If it had been the other way around,
y'all steady to you just going for King Von. You didn't do this and that. Like, bruh.
Being questioned. The Slide for Von movement represented a dangerous intersection of fan culture and street
that nigga locked up. They're like, oh, you stupid as fuck. Why you do that? You should just do.
Violence and risk catching the case or worse. The weight of these expectations.
It just goes to show you, bro.
Created a heavy burden.
This world is so fucking wishy-washy, gang.
During this period, while Durk kept his composure in public, rarely showing emotion in interviews or appearances, his pain showed up in other ways. He frequently name-dropped Von in his music, performed Von's tracks during his shows, and kept visual references to him in music videos and social posts. These tributes weren't just about keeping Von's memory alive. They were Durk's way of processing his loss.
We never seen that moment. Where you're like, yo, listen, I'm going through a lot right now. Just give me some time more.
So is he be rocking for Chicago? Really for Chicago?
You know, obviously, you lost everybody more. You know, everybody show emotions, but I just can't see myself just doing this. Damn, man, it's crazy, man. It's like
on August 19th, 2022, nearly 2 years after Von's death, a shooting went down at a gas station near the Beverly Center Mall in Los Angeles. The intended target appeared to be Quando Rondo, but the bullets instead took the life of his cousin, Xavier Robinson, also known as Lil Pab. This tragic event would later be connected to the ongoing fallout from King Von's death, suggesting that the cycle of retaliation had claimed another victim. The hit on Quando Rondo's crew that resulted in Lil Pab's death marked a major escalation in the beef between the camps associated with King Von and Quando Rondo. No immediate arrests followed the shooting, but investigations were launched that would eventually bring shocking revelations about organized retaliation. Throughout these chaotic events, King Von's legacy continued to grow. His posthumous album, What It Means to Be King, dropped in March 2022 and debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200, showing his music still had major pull even after his passing. This commercial success cemented Von's place as a significant figure in hip-hop, whose influence extended beyond his short time in the game. Von's storytelling ability in particular has been recognized as a major contribution to drill music. Durk himself emphasized this, calling Von one of the greatest storytellers years of that's ever been around. This narrative skill, which allowed Von to paint vivid cinematic pictures of street life, remains his most celebrated artistic quality, and the cornerstone of his legacy.
He ran up a bag, he helped his boys out, man.
Impact on his community,
gave a couple of these hoes kids, you know what I'm saying? King Von did his thing,
stories
man.
of his generosity, loyalty, and commitment to putting on for his people have become central to the narrative around his life. These aspects of his character provide some balance to the more problematic parts
when you
of his
get lit, you get turned up like that, nigga, you just get lit,
nigga. The complexity of Von's legacy is further complicated by posthumous revelations
there's no way else you can do at that point. Nigga, just get turned the fuck up.
The 2014 shooting of Kakira K.I. Barnes. These allegations,
after everything you've been through, everything you've gone through, nigga, you just want to live your life. Sometimes you get mad and crash up, but damn.
To these legal revelations, FBI documents released in January 2023 alleged that Von had put money on FBG Duck's head, another Chicago rapper who was murdered in August 2020. According to a confidential informant mentioned in these documents, Von had initially offered $50,000
OTL Jam?
$100,000.
Trying to get this nigga jammed up three.
In court, they contribute to the contested nature of Von's legacy. In October 2024, FBG Duck's mother filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Lil Durk, OTF Records.
She was not playing. Mama Duck was like, I'm on that.
Through negligence and misconduct. This legal action further entangled Von's posthumous legacy with ongoing controversies and legal battles. Despite these controversies, Von's
I think he's suing Lil Durk right now, too. I don't know how far it's going.
Artists, his unique voice, compelling narrative, and authentic perspective on street life have secured his place in drill rap history, influencing a new generation of artists who draw inspiration from his work. Lil Durk has been instrumental in maintaining Von's legacy, consistently performing his songs and referencing him in interviews and music. When asked about this practice, Durk explained, "You go in there like that's how powerful it named me, like outside all the bullshit. You always live on there, so I told him I was one if he didn't rap. But I'm always keep it alive, you know." This commitment ensures that Von's artistic contributions continue to reach audiences and influence the culture. The aftermath of King Von's death also revealed the immense pressure that fan
King Von, man, like
artists,
you know, the thing about dumb shit was crazy though.
Slide for Von campaign.
Cause I think a lot of people done got hit with the dummy packet.
Represented a troubling
and King Von shit. Lil Durk shit, not Lil Durk, but
they used to say, but you also mentioned a song. They be like, they be saying Slide for Von. I think they trolling me. Yo, that song is fire. I ain't gonna lie. For some reason, I just don't see the comments no more.
This phenomenon raises important
questions. Young dumb shit was crazy. Nigga, everyone got hit.
Such expectations on artists' actions and mental health. For Lil Durk, the aftermath
niggas was just making jokes about the shit got hit.
Personal and professional transformation. His music has taken on a more reflective quality, often touching on themes of loss, loyalty, and resilience. His album, Almost Healed, released after Von's death, explores themes of trauma and the ongoing process of recovery. The title itself acknowledges that some wounds never fully close, a sentiment that Durk has expressed.
They closed.
On Quando Rondo's crew,
but the hoes might get infected, bitch.
Represented a dark turn in the ongoing saga.
The scars might start hurting, bitch.
While the full details of this incident wouldn't be revealed until later legal proceedings, it marked a significant escalation that would ultimately have far-reaching consequences for all involved. Lil Durk's legal battle. On October 25th, 2024, the rap world was left in shock when Lil Durk got snatched up near Miami International Airport on some heavy federal charges. This wasn't some minor beef with the law, but serious federal heat that included conspiracy to commit murder for hire. The arrest, executed by U.S. Marshals, had everyone in the culture talking. The reaction to Durk getting booked within the hip-hop community was pure disbelief. DJ Academics, who's been covering both Durk and Von extensively throughout their careers, captured what many were feeling when he emotionally broke down on his live stream, exclaiming, Man, I fell down to my knees when the law came out.
I'm muted. Hold on. I'm about to mute it back in. I'm gonna tell you right now. Oh my God. No, I'm not trolling. I promise you.
As more info came to light, a grim picture started to form. Federal prosecutors alleged that
that shit wild, man. A lot of people fuck with Durk, you know. Especially when you get to know the motherfucker, like, you know, if you close friends with niggas, you know, a lot of niggas don't know these motherfuckers. These niggas don't know these niggas from a can of paint, bitch.
The timing of Durk's
But
arrest
you know, it's still kind of fucked.
He had just secured a Grammy Award for Best
know.
Melodic Rap Performance for All My Life, featuring J. Cole in February 2024, and was gearing up to drop his album Deep Thoughts on November 22nd, 2024. His career was peaking, making the potential consequences of these charges even more devastating. 5 members of Durk's Only the Family, OTF squad, also got picked up and charged in connection with the alleged plot. After getting locked up, Durk made his first appearance in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of Florida on October 25th, 2024, and was ordered to be transferred to Los Angeles for arraignment. During a detention hearing on December 12th, 2024, U.S. Magistrate Judge Patricia Donahue denied bail, citing Durk's substantial resources and flight risk potential. Durk has maintained his innocence, pleading not guilty to all charges. He's being represented by high-profile Atlanta defense attorney Drew Finley, who previously defended former President Donald Trump. His legal team filed a motion to dismiss the case on April 21st, 2025, challenging the prosecution's evidence, particularly the use of song lyrics as evidence of criminal intent. A major point of contention in the case revolves around Durk's track Wonderful Lean and Jackie Boy, which prosecutors claim references the shooting. They point to a news clip filmed after the shooting where Quando Rondo can be heard saying "no, no" upon seeing Robinson's body, which they allege is mirrored in the song. Durk's defense team counters that the lyrics were written months before the shooting and have nothing to do with the incident. The trial was originally set for January 7th, 2025, but got pushed back to October 14th, 2025, after both prosecution and defense agreed that the case is so unusual and so complex. The complexity comes from the massive amount of evidence, including over 230 gigabytes of digital evidence and more than 20,000 pages of reports. Beyond the criminal charges, Durk now faces a civil wrongful death lawsuit filed on February 26, 2025 by Andrea Laquila Robinson, Saviaya Robinson's mother. The lawsuit describes the shooting as a targeted attack and aims to hold Durk, his business manager, Only the Family record label, and another company responsible for Robinson's death. The allegations against Durk go beyond just the Quando Rondo situation. Prosecutors have raised concerns about his potential involvement in a second murder-for-hire incident related to the 2022 murder of Stefan Mack, a 24-year-old believed to be a gangster disciples leader. While Durk hasn't been charged in this case, the allegations were used to deny his pretrial release. The federal indictment against Durk sparked widespread discussion about the slide for Vaughn phenomenon and its potential influence on his actions. Social media posts from October 2024 highlighted this connection, with one stating, "Fans are blaming internet trolls for pressuring Lil Durk to retaliate after King Von was murdered. Kept asking Durk to slide for Vaughn. He did it, now he's locked up." This narrative suggests that fan pressure may have contributed to Durk's alleged decision to seek revenge.
But they had no proof. So.
I know this sounds f***ed up, but I got about 5 rappers I think I would have donated today. Take them. Not him. Not Smirk. Bro, I ain't gonna lie to you. I f*** with Smirk, bro. I got 5 other rappers. Half of these, they just be talking. They ain't on shit. Take them. Leave me, Durk. I ain't gonna lie, Streets is dead. I think that's what we gotta say. Yeah, Streets.
I could do one of the biggest D writers. I swear.
Oh my God, bro.
The legal drama also raises questions about the connection between rap music and real-life violence. Prosecutors are pointing to Durk's lyrics as evidence, a controversial tactic that his defense team is actively fighting. This approach touches on broader debates about artistic expression, keeping it real in hip-hop, and the criminalization of rap music. The case against Durk is being investigated by the FBI and LAPD, with the prosecution led by attorneys from the Terrorism and Export Crime Section, International Narcotics, Money Laundering, and Racketeering Section, and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California. California. The high-profile nature of the case and the resources being poured into it highlight its importance to federal authorities. The impact of these legal troubles on Durk's career has been massive. His arrest came just weeks before his album Deep Thoughts was supposed to drop on November 22nd, 2024, disrupting his creative momentum and forcing him to reconsider his whole career trajectory. The possibility of a life sentence if
so that was gonna come out
an existential threat to his future in music. Durk's arrest also affects the broader OTF movement and the Chicago DLC, which has already lost too many figures to violence and incarceration. As one of the most successful artists to come out of this movement, Durk's legal situation represents another setback for a community that has struggled to translate artistic success into sustainable legal prosperity. The case has prompted reflection on the cycle of violence that has claimed so many lives in hip-hop. King Von's death, the alleged retaliation against Quando Rondo resulting in Lil Pop's death, and now Durk's potential incarceration illustrate the far-reaching consequences of this cycle. Each tragic event spawns new repercussions affecting not only those directly involved but their families, communities, and fans. Fan reactions to Durk's arrest have been mixed. While many express shock and support, others see it as the inevitable result of street involvement. The conversation around his case touches on complex issues of loyalty, justice, and the expectations placed on artists from disadvantaged backgrounds who achieve success. As the case moves toward its October 2025 trial date, the legal and cultural implications continue to unfold. The outcome will not only determine Durk's personal fate, but also potentially influence how the music industry, law enforcement, and fans understand the relationship between artistic expression and real-world behavior. For Lil Durk, the legal battle represents the culmination of a journey that began with King Von's tragic death in November 2020. The loyalty, grief, and sense of obligation stemming from that loss have led him to this critical point where his future hangs in the balance. Whether motivated by personal vengeance,
you don't want that shit to let the white man hold your shit in the balance of their
actions have resulted in serious legal consequences that threaten to derail his career and freedom. The tragic chain of events, from King Von's death to Lil Pop's murder to Durk's arrest, illustrates how violence creates more violence, causing ripple effects that extend far beyond the initial incident. This case serves as a sobering reminder of the real-world consequences of street conflicts that sometimes begin or are amplified in music, but ultimately play out with devastating finality in the lives of real people. As we await the resolution of this case, it stands as a powerful example of how the streets and the studio can collide in ways that destroy careers, end lives, and leave lasting scars on communities already struggling with systemic challenges. For all the glory and success that drill music has brought to artists like Durk and Von, their story also reveals the potentially devastating cost of keeping it too real when the lines between art and life become dangerously blurred. If you love this video, then click on the card.
Alright, we back. So as y'all see from here, nigga, half the time these motherfuckers don't even know what the fuck they doing. They just be making up shit. You know what I'm saying? They trying to get Lil Durk with witness tampering. Witness tampering over the shit that's been happening. They trying to say that they trying to bully them niggas. You know what I'm saying? You know, make people go invisible or make at least switch up their stories. So this shit's getting wild. We don't know if Lil Durk doing that or not. You know what I'm saying? As we see in other trials, as soon as motherfuckers start winning and doing a little bit better than what they doing, they want to bring up extra shit like witness tampering and trying to take out motherfucking the lawyers or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like Lil Durk done took down 2 cases that been dismissed. Now they trying to get these superseding indictments down. We don't know if they gonna get cooking down because, you know, somebody did die at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? And Lil Durk was at LA and all the other shit and it happened in LA. So we don't know. And he was on sure that it's a lot behind it. The King Von situation, man, if King Von was his last situation and he got up, he could survive, he got up and he was like, where my gun at? I need to get my gun, and he on some goofy, on some shit like that, bro. What the fuck, nigga? It's like, damn, you know, sometimes, bro, you know, you can't help your situation, you know what I'm saying? You be so fucking mad at the situation you did, because people trying to say he died at the scene, but they trying to say he didn't. He died in, they done fixed him up, and he in the operation table going crazy. Bro, you know, when you get hit with them thukas, man, you never know how and what the situation can happen, especially when you so close up in the situation. Crip, you know, Lil Tim nothing happened to him. Then it's like, then you got shoot up that close. Then the police took up the rest of the niggas. That's what people don't understand. The police killed like the rest of the motherfuckers. Lil Tim got hit by one of the King Von people, but the police took out almost everybody. You know, it shows you how deep this situation got to where, you know what I'm saying, motherfuckers just died at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So we don't know if Lil Durk gonna get free, Crip, you know what I'm saying, 7-4 trade, you know what I'm saying, he could You know what I'm saying? On some good shit. Like, he just gotta have that money on and really get that shit. You know what I mean? But we gonna see, man, because nobody wanna be in prison. Let's be honest, that shit is hell. You know, we see what Tory Lanez going through, so it's just like nobody want to be in that bitch. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully, you know, we can free another black man out this motherfucker, and he can finally be appreciative of the success he got. And we out this bitch. Hood, Northside, P Crip, gang, Northside shit.
Hey, Dad, you know that when we link up, dog, this shit be legendary. You know this instrumental, you the engineer on it, so Kodak everywhere.